Sports cards is a lifestyle. Sports cards and we live now. Jeremy Lee in the building and every guest that you ever needed. Sports cards after hours keep the hobby heated. Updates, hobby talk like you never seen it. Sports cards live and none could ever beat it. Sports cards is a lifestyle. Sports cards and we live now. Welcome to another episode of Sports Cards Live with your host, Jeremy Lee.
All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the REA Catalog Auctions live stream showcase. We're going to go through several of the cards that are featured in this auction, which just launched a couple days ago. It ends on April the 27th of 2025. And I am excited. There are some amazing cards in this auction, as there always are. Now, quick little update and something I wasn't expecting, but we've had a change of plans. Brian Dwyer, president of REA, is unable to join us. He had a conflict, but we have in his place Matt Clark will be joining us, and I'm going to bring him out in just a moment, and we're going to get to know Matt a little bit, as well as looking at about 25 of the items up for bid this quarter in their catalog auction. So let's jump right in and bring out Mr. Matt Clark. Matt, welcome to the Sports Cards Live channel. Welcome to the REA live show. How are you today?
I'm doing well, Jeremy. Thanks for having me. Sorry, Brian couldn't be here, but he's actually picking up a collection in the Southeast this week. So the big guy's got to work.
No doubt. He's got a lot. He's got to keep the ship sailing over there at REA. Why don't we take a few seconds here, Matt? One of the things I believe in and I love about what I get to do in the hobby, being a content creator, is I think it's such a privilege to be able to introduce people to the audience. And you've never been on one of my shows before, and I've done several. So I wouldn't mind if you could just take a few moments and explain, a little bit about your hobby history and how long have you been at REA and what exactly do you do with REA?
Sure. Yeah. So I've been involved in the industry now for probably 15 years or so. I started working for a dealer when I was in high school. And then upon graduating college, I began working for SGC. I worked there for about 4 years. And then in 2019, I moved back from Florida to New Jersey, which is where I'm originally from, to work at REA. So I've been here for just about 6 years now.
Awesome. And what would your job title be? What is your role at REA?
Operations director in title. So kind of my job is to facilitate the processing of the collections that we take in, and get the data entry done, make sure they go through photography and inventory, and then ultimately up on the website so that everyone can bid on them. And in addition to that, I spend a fair bit of my time working on consignments and leads and going out and procuring auction material as well.
And as far as sports cards, where do you find yourself? What do you enjoy the most? I mean, REA does a lot of vintage. They do some modern. You guys do some modern as well. But what do you personally love the most as far as the hobby goes?
Vintage cards for sure. I've never had a very narrow focus, very specific focus, but just working at SGC, I saw so many great cards come through, and then obviously here that knowledge gets expanded upon so much greater. And there's just, always been vintage cards that have caught my eyes. I really am a pretty big fan of 19th century cards. I really like turn of the century cards as well. One of the first vintage cards I ever bought was a T205 Cy Young and an SGC 5. I've just always loved the T205 set, really condition sensitive, and always been drawn to that. And then, a bunch of other classics. I love the Ernie Banks rookie. I love all the 53 Topps cards. 53 Satchel Paige is one of my favorite cards. 53 Bowman Color Reese. So kind of a little bit of everything, but vintage for sure.
You mentioned 53. You mentioned the 53 Satchel. What about the 53 Willie Mays? One of my favorite images in all of vintage baseball. How do you like that card?
Oh, phenomenal. I mean, I think it's a great pose, very atypical pose of Mays that you would see on a card. And obviously it's a short print in the set, super tough, particularly in high grade. I'm a big fan of the 53 set in general. I just think that artwork wise, it's one of the most eye appealing sets that Topps ever made. So yeah, I love the Mays. And
it tends to be overshadowed by the 52 set, which might right? Means there could be some good value plays if you are looking for collectors of the 53 set. Not to say that they're cheap by any means, but they are.
No.
I agree. I think they're as nice, if not nicer in some cases, than the 52s.
Yeah, I think visually for sure. I mean, the 52 obviously has so much going for it, just being, kind of Topps flagship issue, but 53s are just beautiful cars. There's no doubt about it.
And then you mentioned you love the T205s. Are we talking about the gold border set there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Really, that's a set that I've never really paid much attention to over the years. I'm well aware of the T206s, the T205s. You know how it goes, Matt. As the years go by, maybe our tastes change or different things interest us. And now I find myself, and I've never owned a T205, but I find myself very recently, and it might be I've been influenced by fellow vintage baseball collectors and their YouTube content featuring some of these cards, but I find myself very interested in the T205, particularly the Ty Cobb. Do you have a favorite card within the set yourself?
I mean, I own the Young, so I guess I'm a little bit partial to that one, but the Mathewson, the image of the Mathewson, I've always really been drawn to. The Cobb obviously is a classic as well. I think that, I mean, I love T206s too, but one of the kind of occupational hazards of working in this industry is you just see just the sheer quantity of cards that you see, and they don't sort of lose their appeal, but it does make other cards kind of stand out a bit more. So when you see a really nice T205 come across your desk and it's just such a tougher set, a little bit more rare, they kind of pop a little bit more. So I'm kind of an increasing. They're increasing in fandom over the years as the years go on.
Right on. Yeah, no doubt about it. And I want to welcome everybody who's watching on Instagram right now. Feel free to come on over to the YouTube stream where you can get into the chat, and even MJ23, you can come slam vintage cards in the YouTube chat if you'd like. He said on Instagram that he doesn't like vintage, he likes modern, but that's fair. Everyone has their own approach to.
And there's modern cards, there's something for everybody in this business.
Oh yeah, I love vintage. I love it all. It's like you said, it's one of the occupational hazards of this business is that, or just being in the hobby and being a collector, is that there's so many great cards from many different eras. And I tend to love them all. Let's say hello to Jacob Dahl. Jacob, welcome to the show. Robert Scott, good to see you. You got the notification. Good. I'm glad you did, Robert. Glad you're here. He says T205 is an underrated set for sure. The Maddie, the Madison
love it.
Is beautiful for sure. And Tom Fag says, my first consignment is in this auction. Orange borders, Ty Cobb. Great experience with REA so far. Matt is who I worked with. Well, isn't that great, Tom? You get to watch him here with me on the show. And okay, Matt, well, why don't we get into the auction and have a look at some cards? You ready?
Absolutely.
All right, guys, we're going to kick it off with a hockey card. This happens to be lot number 1 in the whole auction. This is a beast of a card. This is the 1966 Topps Test USA Bobby Orr rookie. It's a mint 9. It's a pop 3, none higher. And this is a card that it's sort of I feel oftentimes it's a bit of a unicorn type of card. We don't see it very often compared to the regular issue Bobby Orr rookie, but it is a rarer version of it. And the one thing I like to point out with this card as we make it bigger for everybody is it looks almost identical to the regular issue 1966 Topps Bobby Orr. Couple of key differences. The wood grain is lighter, and you have this white stripe coming right down the right edge here. You see this white stripe, everybody? Well, that's not an error. That is on all of them. It's always been that way, and it's just because it was a test issue. So it's interesting. It's a very rare card, and this is a very, very high grade, highly desirable card, very important card in the hobby, currently sitting at a bid of $165,000. Matt, what are your thoughts on this? What are your thoughts on vintage hockey in general? And then let us know what you think about this Orr test card.
I mean, I love all the vintage hockey sets. I played hockey in high school, so I'm a big hockey fan to begin with. And then I just think relative to the baseball sets, they're so rare, you hardly ever see them. And Bobby Orr, obviously one of the most, listen, he's certainly a major Hall of Famer and a key among vintage hockey collectors. But in the shadows of guys like Wayne Gretzky, for example, I feel like he's a tad undervalued. And like you kind of mentioned, the regular tops, I mean, even in high grade, they're very difficult to find as well. But the tops tests are just so much rarer, pound for pound, than the regular version. I think that PSA is graded well over 1,000 Bobby Orr rookies from the regular set, and this is like one of only 140 that they've graded from this set in any grade, and one of only 3 9s with no 10s out there. So, kind of to your point earlier about it kind of being a unicorn. I mean, find another one. If you're a vintage hockey collector, particularly an Orr collector, I mean, this is a rare opportunity for sure.
And find another one in this grade as well. This particular copy is also adorned by the NBA Silver eye appeal sticker, meaning very strong for the grade itself. So while there are 3 total PSA 9s in the population, and I haven't seen the other 2, or at least I don't remember seeing the other 2 right now, I think it would be fair to say that this would be maybe the nicest of those 3, which could make it the highest quality tops test Bobby Orr rookie on the planet, which is really an important feature of the card. All right, let's go to the next item. Matt, we've got a 1952 tops. We were talking about the 52 tops set a few minutes ago. Mickey Mantle in an SGC 7.5 holder. I think everybody understands the importance of this card. Likely the most iconic card in the whole sports card hobby. This one, very, very nice. Now, Matt, I'm sure you're familiar with the type A and type B of the 52 tops cards. This one does not have that bottom black line around the logo. It has the pixel missing right here. I'll just blow that up so you guys can have let's see if we can get in there. The pixel of the ink is missing right there. That's on all of them. A very nice copy. Obviously, this one is slightly off center, a little bit high, a little bit to the right, but look at the deep blue, the almost aqua in the background. The registration, to me, Matt, appears to be, I think, perfect. Edges and corners, very nice. Now, it's a 7.5, so you're not going to have the most perfect corners in the world, although that grade might be more so to do with the centering, because I'm looking at the corners here, Matt. They look really good to me, as do the edges. What can you tell us about this copy?
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head there. I think that if not for centering, this is certainly a candidate for a higher grade. And obviously, 52 Mantle, need no introduction. It's one of the most important cards the industry's ever known. I think that a lot of the other cards that we see going for crazy prices is largely in part due to the popularity of the 52 Mantle, and just a great copy, like you said. Deep blue, great registration, really clean white border. Sometimes you see those 52 tops and the white kind of gets a little bit of toning on it. They get almost like a brownish look to them. And this is just a really clean example. That you definitely don't see them like this every day. And we have 52 Mantles in almost all of our auctions in various grades. But, 7s now, it used to be that you could find 7s pretty frequently. 7s are getting kind of tougher. They're getting in tighter and tighter hands, and anything above a 7 is really few and far between to find nowadays.
Yeah, it's a really nice copy. And, the centering is obviously not perfect. We look at the reverse, it's even more off center on the back. But as I've come to learn and just experience, I'm a registration guy. I put that ahead of everything. Centering is number 2 for me, but we don't dominate the hobby landscape. There are people who it's all about corners for them, or color or edges. So this card will no doubt find itself a wonderful new home. Current bid is at $165,000. Next item that we're going to review is this 1916 Morehouse Baking Babe Ruth. It's a canceled version of the card. It's identical on the front to the M101-4s and 5s. There's a few other variations of this, but the Morehouse date, Matt, can you tell us how rare is the Morehouse version of this Babe Ruth 1916 rookie card versus some of the M101-4s and 5s, let's say?
Yeah, so I mean, I think Morehouse has its own designation, but really, I think by the way that most collectors look at it is that it really is an M104 or 5. One of those kind of back variations where, similar to, in addition to sporting news, you have Famous and Bar and gimbals and all sorts of different backs. And this is part of a collection of Morehouse Baking was in New England. It was up in the Boston area. And this card originates from a Morehouse Baking find that we got in our last auction, in which there was 2 Ruths, and we sold the PSA 3.5 for $812,000, and then this was the second one. We obviously didn't want to put them in the same auction, so this one's in our current spring auction. And yeah, I mean, I think to date these are the only 2 that are graded by PSA. You could redeem them, I believe, for a jump rope. So that's why they say canceled on the reverse. If you turned a bunch of the cards in to Morehouse Baking, you could get a prize.
Yeah, it's so cool. I love these canceled versions of kind of pre-war cards. Morehouse Baking Company on the back right there. And I can tell you guys that between the Morehouse, the gimbal, the M101-4 and the M101-5, there's only 89 total copies of this image of Babe Ruth from 1916 encapsulated by PSA and SGC all together. Only 89. And if this is a pop 2 total for the Morehouse version, this is an extraordinary card. Very rare, currently at $155,000 for this PSA 1 that clearly has some condition issues, as you can see, but it's so rare and it is of Babe Ruth that it is going to go and sell for a significant sum of money. Very cool piece. All right, let's keep on rolling. We have another Babe Ruth. This is 1917 Collins McCarthy. It's a blank back. It's a 2.5, but Matt, right out of the gate, this looks so
like
nice.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and look at the back. I hadn't looked at the back until right now. So what is this on the back of
That's
this?
actually not the back. If you go to the next picture, so 2 over, so that's the back of the card. So if you go one back, this card was originally sold at public auction a few years ago, and it was discovered in a like a 19-teens era scrapbook by, it looks like someone who was in high school, just kind of putting things in this book, and it was just basically perfectly preserved in the pages of this scrapbook. So when it was originally sold, they made copies of the book. I think the original family who sold it kept the original scrapbook, but they made copies and gave it to the winning bidder, who ultimately passed it along to us for this sale. But yeah, I mean, it has just some surface issues on the bottom and the front that you really can't even see. Gold NBA sticker, which is aside from their black sticker, which they hardly ever give out, the highest designation that you can get. And again, from a condition perspective, I think it needs very little introduction. I mean, the card looks like a 7 or an 8. I mean, you can't ask for a whole lot more out of a 2.5. So
from this angle that I'm looking at, it looks no lower than an 8. But I'm sure there's something technical going on that does bring the grade down. That's the way it works, and that's why the delta between eye appeal and technical grade can be just a chasm, like it is in this case. And to me, that often provides opportunity and value for the buyers, for the collectors. We're at $70,000 for this 1917. That's really what we would consider a second-year Babe Ruth card, and you can always take the serial number from the PSA slab and go to the psacard.com and find out the population of these cards. Of course, come to collectrea.com. It's collectrea.com, and read all these descriptions. As you can see here, we're not going to read it all to you right now, but you have that opportunity to do so. And again, anybody, if you're on Instagram, feel free to come on over to YouTube. And I want to say a quick hello to Daniel A. Glad you're here, Daniel. I'll see you in a couple of weeks. And the Pick 6 cards is in the house as well. Good evening to you. All right, Matt, we have a 1903 E107 Cy Young. I don't know how you say this. Bryce Williams, perhaps? I am not familiar with this card. Why don't you tell us what we have here?
Basically, one of the rarest, probably the rarest E card issue that exists. To put it in perspective, and I think that we outlined this in our description, this is only the 3rd example of this card that we've sold in our 20-something year history. So we're fortunate enough to have been consigned a near complete set. I think, unfortunately, the cards are so rare that what ends up happening is, people do a great job compiling all these cards, and then you kind of reach a standstill where you can't add anymore, and you kind of move on to a different project. And I think that's kind of the result of what's happened here, where I think it's just time to focus their attention on something else. But just an incredible opportunity to own one of the earliest e-card issues of Cy Young. One of the earliest cards of Cy Young, period. If you'll notice, most e-cards are in that 1910 era, and this is substantially before that. So great set.
Until right now, I would have thought Cy Young's, rookie card was a T206 from 1909 to 11, and now I know that would have been wrong. This is 6 years older, at least, than that. $29,000 is the current bid for this SGC1 Cy Young E107. It's a nice pose. There is a little bit of paper loss. There's a few creases or whatever, but the image of his face and his jersey are nice and clean. There's a little bit of a mark on the neck there, but overall, like you said, there's none of these out there, so you got to take them when you can get them. All right, my favorite card of the night, and as many people who watch my content know, I recently acquired this card, but the 1914 version, and the 1915 is no slouch itself. This is a beautiful copy, the 1915 Cracker Jack Joe Jackson. It's a PSA 5. It has the NBA Eye Appeal sticker as well, and just like we were looking at with the 1917 Babe Ruth, this thing, it looks nicer than maybe the top, outside of the top left corner, I was going to say it looks nicer than a 5, but Mike Baker Authenticated agrees with me on that. I'm sure you do too, Matt. What are your thoughts on this card, on this Joe Jackson Cracker Jack?
Yeah, I mean, I think, Cracker Jack's one of my favorite sets. The Cobb and the Jackson. I think that Jackson cards in general, despite the attention that they get, are still a bit undervalued. And as you pointed out, I mean, upper left corner, in my opinion, is the only thing that's holding this card back. And even then, I mean, we put a lot of faith into PSA, and they're great at what they do, and they've assigned it a 5. But I certainly don't think that any collector who ends up with this card in their hands would be upset if it was a 5.5 or frankly even a 6. I think it's one of the nicest 15 Jacksons that I've ever held. I mean, great color, great registration, totally free of staining, which you do see on 15s relative to the 14s, and well centered, beautiful red. I think it's one of the nicer cards in this auction, relative to its age.
Oh, to me, it's the key card in the auction. I'm in love with these Cracker Jack Joe Jacksons. I love the pose. I love everything about it. And what I think one of the things I love the most is that the Cracker Jack brand is so connected to baseball and Americana that, to me, this is such an important piece of history, sports card history, baseball history, and that's why I was led to acquire one myself recently. Absolutely love it. We're sitting at $60,000 right now for this PSA 5 1915 Cracker Jack Joe Jackson. And I can also tell you guys that there are a total of 201 of these, only 201 of these graded between PSA and SGC. And Matt's looking like, oh, wow, the guy's a savant. How does he know this? Well, I did when I was purchasing my copy, I did a bunch of research, and I still have that paper sitting on my desk.
That's all good. Right.
1911 T3, the Turkey Red Master Set, SGC graded. I recently did some work on one of these cards for some AI work. I should clear it up. not some clean, nothing like that. I did some AI work. I put my good friend Leighton Sheldon's face inside of the Ty Cobb as a little present, and it got me really interested and more familiar with these cards. They're oversized. Matt, what can you tell us about the Turkey Red issue and this complete set, master set here that is on offer on the REA Spring Catalog Auction?
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of the players that you'll see in like the T205, T206 set, stars of the era by and large, and just great cabinet photos. And I think for a long time they were very undervalued. I think a lot of that is due to the nature of their size. They're just kind of harder to display as a result. But in the past 5 years or so, they've really kind of received the attention that I feel they deserve. And there's just so many subtle variation things about the back, and the advertising backs versus the checklist backs. And again, I just think that from an image perspective, like you have the Cy Young there, very similar to the T206 Cy Young bare hand shows, but just such a big blown up example. And for photography, that's 115 years old, and I just think they're really incredible pieces of history. And the Mordecai Brown card there in the lower part of your, yeah, right there. I just think like the way that the orange background pops on a card like that, or the Addy Joss above it there. I think from a color and artwork perspective, they're just a tremendous set. You hardly ever see them this complete.
It's really neat to see the varying conditions, the varying degrees of rounding on the corners. Like while for example, this one over here has nice sharp corners, it presents well. This one right beside it has nice uniform rounded corners, which I have no problem, Matt, when it comes to pre-war cards with rounded corners, as long as they are rounded uniformly. I call it sexy corners. I like them. And this, the ones I'm seeing here seem to, like look at this card. Look at this one right over here.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to roll away.
That's the Cy. Yeah, it's a Cy Young. Now those are heavily. I don't know if those are worn or someone like. Is that natural wear? I'm not sure, but it's uniform, and that's what I like about it. So, really neat stuff. All right. Well, currently at auction, $31,000 for this master set of 104 1911 T3 turkey red SGC graded baseball cards. All right, let's keep on rolling. 1933 Sport Kings Babe Ruth in an SGC 8.5. I happen to have a Sport Kings card on my desk right now, Matt. It's something new. I'm not going to pretend like I've been doing this for years where every month I switch out the card on display on my desk, but I've had this sitting on my desk for about a week and a half or 2 weeks, and I just come in, I look at it. Happens to be from the same set. So the 1933 Sport King set was a multi-sport set, and this is the Babe Ruth card. It is an iconic looking card. I believe we're at $40,000 for this SGC 8.5 right now, Matt. And this is a very nice card. Look at those corners and edges. Basically perfect. I would, as close to perfect as you're going to get. Great color. The registration is unbelievable. Like, look at how clear his face is. Maybe some light surface wear if I'm trying to find something wrong with it, which I'm having trouble doing. What are your thoughts on this? What do you think about this card, Matt?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of this card. I think, the Gaudis get so much attention as far as Babe Ruth goes. And this is a card that comes out same year and same manufacturer. I mean, they're very similar cards, a lot more rare. I mean, I think that there's a little more than half of the population of like your average 33 Gaudi in Sport Kings. And, I think as a result of that, a bit undervalued. And I mean, from an eye appeal perspective, I'm sure you can find something wrong with every card, but this card's mint in my book. I think it's a beautiful example. I mean, well-centered, razor-sharp corners. The registration's flawless. It has kind of a light background, and that usually poses to kind of highlight some condition flaws that these Sport King Ruths have. And this one's just totally absent of all that.
Well, Vintage Card Collector says, why doesn't the Sport Kings Ruth get more love? Half the population of the 33 Gaudi, and I'll take a stab at it, Matt. I think it's because of the set that it's from. I think more people are collecting the 33 Gaudi set than the multi-sport 33 Sport Kings set. That's the only reason I can think of, because this card would fit right in to the 1930, along with the 1933 Gaudi Babe Ruth cards. This is a perfect companion to those 4. But do you have any other insight as to why this may not command the same value or attention that the Gaudi cards do?
I think that I think certain sets just kind of get a reputation as being like the standard for that era, and that kind of takes legs. And the 33 Gaudi set's a tremendous set. I mean, don't get me wrong. You have 4 Ruths in there. There's 2 Gehrigs, and then numerous other Hall of Famers. I think the Sport Kings is an undervalued set in addition to just the Ruth, but so many really cool cards there, and so many like first examples of or very early examples of heroes of their sports. I mean, Bobby Jones is in that set. There's some really cool ones, and Cobb is the #1 card, which is also a great piece.
And if you look at the back, you can see that this is a Gaudi card as well. It's Sport Kings was made by the Gaudi Gum Company, so it fits right in with those other ones. 40,000 is the current bid for this Babe Ruth. All right, maybe my second favorite card in the auction, tonight is this 1935 R331 National Chickle. I always stumble on how to say Chickle. How do you say it?
I say Chickle.
National Chickle Bronco Nagurski. This is an SGC 8. It's a Pop 1. It's highest graded by SGC. It's an unbelievable card. And I can also tell you guys that there's only 243 total universally slabbed by PSA, BGS, and SGC. And this card is gorgeous, Matt. I would love to acquire one. It's on my list. It's a long-term thing. I hope to one day own one of these. It is a Mount Rushmore. I believe it to be a Mount Rushmore vintage card overall. If you're going to take one from each sport, this is going to land on there as far as football goes. Beautiful copy, slightly off-center to the right, but another one of those cases of, beggars can't be choosers. Everything else is wonderful about it. What can you tell us about this card? What kind of buyer do you expect to come around for this card? Is this going to go to a collector, an investment fund? What do you see happening with this, and what do you think of the card?
I think one of the most interesting things about a card like this in such a high grade is that the buyer really could be anybody because of the reasons you just mentioned. It's the most important football card. Chickle high numbers are incredibly tough. Any of them, but the Nagurski obviously is the most famous football card. It's the most important football card, and you hardly ever see them in high grade. I mean, you're lucky to find a 2 or a 3. So I think that this could go to someone who, is just kind of chomping at the bit to finish a high grade set. And this is a key piece. I think it could go to somebody who is, has a very significant football card collection. I think it could go to somebody who just collects iconic cards. I think it could go to somebody who wants to hold it as a longer term investment. I'm kind of excited to see where this one lands because I think that the potential for interested parties is really high on this.
Yeah, I think it has a ways to go myself. I love the colors. I love how you've got the blue and the purple in the background, and then you got the Minnesota pennant behind Nagurski, who is basically running at you through the card. He looks like a complete animal out there right now. Like, this guy was tough as nails. I love the card, and excited for whoever gets to own this copy, an early congratulations. All right, we have a complete set of 1960 Topps 572 cards, number 4 on the PSA set registry. Key rookie cards include you've got Yastrzemski, among others. Is this the Jim Cat is on there?
Yep.
Is this
and McCovey?
And McCovey. Well, yeah. Oh, McCovey. I was thinking, and McCovey. I didn't see it there, but there he is, right in the middle. Now, here's a question for you. We know what this set is chock filled with Hall of Famers, a couple great rookies, Matt. But tell us about buying and selling at auction complete sets, like 572 slab cards. It's a heavy auction lot. It's a lot of pieces. Who are buying and selling these complete sets lately, and what do you think about this offering?
Yeah, I think that the thing about this is the highest grade 60 top set that we've ever offered. 60 tops they become very difficult to assemble in really high grade. And most of these cards are 9s. And I think that obviously it appeals to PSA set registry guys, as this is the number 4 set. So as you move the number 4 off, it likely is going to get broken. You have the opportunity to upgrade your set and put you substantially further apart from your competitors. I think there is a chance that it sells to somebody who's, either in the early stages of putting a 60 set together or is looking to get involved and can just kind of pick up a great one in one fell swoop. I also think that, it's a type of lot where, savvy dealers and collectors they're going to keep it honest and not let it go cheap because they're going to have a vast understanding of the break value. And, this set, if you pull up the description, I know that we put it in there. It has, I think there's 400 and some odd 9s. And I think it should say right in there that there's 285 of those 9s are the highest graded examples. There's no 10s. And a couple of those, there is a 2 10s in the set, including one that's a Pop 1. So there's definitely a lot of ammunition in there for guys who are looking to improve their sets and put some distance in between them and the other people on the registry around them.
Yeah, you said the break value, and on the one hand, I think it would be sad to see the set broken up, but on the other hand, it's going to help a lot of people who are competing on the registry even that are lower down the number 4 that might have the opportunity now in other, maybe whoever purchases this consigns a bunch of these back to you, and you can now buy these cards as singles and improve your GPA for your set on the registry. $77,500 is the current bid for all 572 cards of this 1960 Topps baseball set. All right. One of my favorites, 1980 Topps Rickey Henderson. This is a PSA 10, 40,489 copies of this card have been submitted to PSA with only 25 PSA 10 gem mint copies. That's a very, very small gem rate. Only 25. That's crazy, Matt. Only 25. This copy looks to be all of that to me as well. Corners, edges, centering looks, I don't know if it's perfect, but it's basically perfect. The color is great. Registration is very good. What are your thoughts on this? How do you see this card fitting in to the overall like Hall of Fame baseball rookie landscape?
Yeah, I've kind of changed my opinion on this card over the years. I mean, like I said earlier, I've been in this hobby now for maybe 15 years or so. And I think, during that time, this card has aged very gracefully, and now it's 45 years old. I think that as far as baseball cards are concerned, it is far and away the most iconic card of the 1980s. And I would say it's certainly one of the most iconic Hall of Fame rookie cards. And it's got just a great story. I mean, you look at the price of Henderson's. I mean, for someone who's watching this or finds the card cool, you can pick up a copy in a lesser grade for, $100 if you want to, or less. But to get a 10, the multiple of what they sell for is just, it's crazy. That's a $150,000 card there. And I think that throughout the years, I've kind of grown a little bit fonder of it. And like you said, I mean, of the 40 something thousand that are graded, there's 25 PSA 10s. I'm not a math expert, but that's like less than 1/10 of 1%. I mean, it's pretty remarkable. And we get people who call up periodically and say, every time we sell one of these, and they're like, oh, I've got that card and it's perfect. It's in a plastic case and it's screwed in there and it's never seen the light of day. And I've had to break a lot of hearts telling people that unfortunately, they have a $100 or $200 card instead of a $150,000 card. But yeah, I mean, certainly a lot of demand for it.
Yeah, it's a tough card to find in this condition. So only 25 people can have it. 80,000 is the bid right now on this 1980 Topps PSA 10 Gem Mint Rickey Henderson Hall of Fame rookie. And now we're going to get to one of my other favorites in the auction, the 1910 E90-2 American Caramel Honus Wagner. This is in a PSA 4 holder. And I had to do it, Matt. I had to bring out my copy of the card to show in right here in its flesh. Mine's a PSA 2 that I think I bought this from REA, I believe 12 years ago. So I've owned this copy for a long time. I love it. So I love seeing what these are doing nowadays. And I like to compare the different copies because the print quality or even there's almost different ways that this card was laid out, particularly in the boldness of the blue. This one has a very bold blue to it. Beautiful portrait of I call him Honus Wagner. I'm sure there's other ways to say Honus. I hear a lot, but I'm going to go with what I'm comfortable with. It's a beautiful Honus Wagner card. He looks great on the image itself. And if we just sort of zoom in and take a look at it, now, it is in the PSA 4 holder, and it looks beautiful. It's not perfect, slightly rounded corners, but mostly uniform. The top left corner being the sharpest of all. I'm seeing a slight wrinkle right up there, I believe. Matt, otherwise though, this card, I mean, I love this card as an alternative to the T206, which is out of reach for 99.99% of people in the hobby. This is a great alternative, Matt. What do you think of this card?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the driving forces behind its value is that, you have a guy who is with the same image on the most iconic baseball card in existence. And this is an opportunity for someone to own one and not have to shell out millions of dollars. I think that you're fortunate that you bought yours 12 years ago. Probably doing pretty well with that one. This is the car that's just gone crazy over the past 5-7 years or so. And to me, on cars of this era, like, this is really, I think this is one of the best kind of combinations of condition and eye appeal, where you have a card that 110, 115 years old and looks phenomenal. It's been around the block. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be a 10. It's not a 7. It's got a little crease here or there, a couple corner touches, but you hold it in your hand, and I mean, it's like taking a walk back in time. And it's not run over by a truck, and it presents beautifully. I mean, to someone who is not really educated about the technical grading aspects of a card like this, they could think that this card is a 10.
Yeah, it's an amazing example. The fact that it has survived 115 years is phenomenal. And it's, a friend of mine recently picked up a copy for himself, and I'm like, welcome to the club. Like, it's really neat as a collector, as the custodian of these cards, to be able to share the experience with others who do own the same card, especially one that is so rare and scarce overall, that if anyone watching or listening is going to purchase this copy, reach out to me. Let me know. We become part of a brotherhood. I think it's a really cool thing to be a part of. And it also helps build the community. You mentioned, you said I did well, or I'm lucky to have bought it when I did. And that makes me think, a lot of people, you hear people saying sports cards aren't investments. And I'm not saying that they pay out dividends or anything, but, when you hear someone say that sports cards are not investments, think for yourself a little bit and understand that if you have some savvy and you have some foresight, there's always opportunities out there, because 20 years from now, you'll be looking back and saying, man, I wish I bought, I'm not saying this card in particular, but whatever. I wish I would have bought that card, whatever it may be, 20 years ago, back in 2025, because now look at what it's worth. So you just have to have a little bit of savviness and foresight, I would say, but that comes with a lifetime in the hobby, perhaps, or get some good advice. Listen to us. See what we like. Anyway, okay, let's move along. Matt, 1925 exhibits, Lou Gehrig SGC2. We're at $41,000 for this. You used the word exhibit earlier on when we were looking at the T205. The T3 set. What can you tell us about this, and what is an exhibit card for somebody who may not really know?
Well, I think that the T3s are regarded as cabinet cards just due to their size. This, Exhibits was an actual manufacturer. So, Exhibits put out sets, for a number of years. I mean, you can go, there's early 20s and even into the late teens Exhibits, and they go all the way into the 60s. Mickey Mantle has an exhibit card. But its claim to fame is this, and that it is Lou Gehrig's rookie. And for years, this was a tremendously undervalued card. And fortunately, in the last several, it's kind of seen its day in the sun. But this is an example of someone who picked this card up. It was one of the only cards in his collection. He bought it at a card show in New York decades ago, kind of tucked it away, and kind of recently rediscovered it, and ultimately consigned it to us. We had it graded with SGC. It has some very subtle condition flaws in the back. It's got just a little bit of a wrinkle, kind of a vertical wrinkle. You can kind of see it on the right-hand portion of the card, or the left-hand portion of the card there. I'm sorry. It's almost like that white line. And then right in the center there, just a tad bit of maybe something from when it was in a scrapbook or some erased writing or something like that. But from a presentation standpoint, one of the nicer looking Gehrigs that you'll find, and certainly one of the most important Hall of Fame rookie cards as far as I'm concerned.
And it predates his 33 Gaudi by 8 years, which is a card that I covet very highly. I think it's beautiful. The number 92 would be my choice, the one that I would prefer to add to my collection. I've never owned one, but this predating it by 8 years is unbelievable. Very, very cool. Yeah, great card. $41,000 right now on the Lou Gehrig actual rookie card here. I want to thank Triple V for the Hans Wagner being a beauty. Thank you very much. Turpin Forcer said the vintage I like starts in the late 40s. All I have to say to you, Turpin Forcer, is, well, you're missing out on some beautiful Gaudis and play balls in the 30s and late 30s, early 40s. 41 play ball, Terp. Have a look at that. You're missing out on some really good stuff there. Okay, let's go to the next item. Jackie Robinson, 1948, often referred now to as 1949 Leaf, but 48 Leaf, PSA 7, tough card. You might look at this and think, well, it's a slightly off center to the left. This is amazingly centered for the issue. This is one of the toughest cards to find centered, one of the most important cards in the history of our hobby. My second favorite card that I own at the moment. Love it so much. This is a beautiful PSA 7 copy. Matt, what do you think of this copy? How do you think, like, 52 Topps Mickey Mantle, very important card, of course. Does this 48 Leaf Jackie kind of push the 52 Mantle as far as like, hey, I'm going to catch up to you one day and become as iconic?
Yeah, I think that I think in our industry, it has the potential to do so. The 52 Mantle obviously has legs of its own, and it's just kind of in the stratosphere right now. But the interesting thing about the Leaf Jackie is, it's more than just baseball. It's kind of part of American history. If when all else fails, I think that Jackie Robinson will always be taught in schools, and people will always know the story and know who he is, and he'll always garner a lot of respect as a result of that. So I think that his cards, I kind of take the approach that you were alluding to earlier, where you never really know if something's going to be a good investment in the short term, but if you believe in the card market, I think Jackie is a pretty safe place because it just appeals to so many different types of collectors. And to your point, Leafs are not very well made cards, so you have a lot of centering issues that plagued it, focus issues. The cards are always out of registration, a lot of print issues. So to get a 7 on a card like this, I think is pretty special.
It is, no doubt. Terp says loves the 48 Jackie. It's an important part of American history, which, yeah. And I like how when we looked at the back here, the very first sentence is first Negro player in modern organized baseball. I mean, that is so significant that it is the first sentence there. It made the card back then. And now here we are 75, 80 years later. And it is such an important piece of history. And that event, the fact that he was the first African-American player in major leagues, is something that is just, it's an unbelievable time. Ped's card collection says Matt Clark, who's filling in tonight, by the way, for Brian Dwyer, who had a last minute conflict and had to go look at a collection. So Matt Clark is with us, as Matt is the absolute GOAT, the most knowledgeable young buck in the industry from Ped's card collection. That's very nice, Peds. Welcome to the show. And Robert Scott says Leaf Jackie is well registered with no red eye. Yeah, Robert, this is a really nicely printed copy. Like, there is no overlap behind the cap, behind his ear, no gaps between the navy or his skin tone and the yellow background. This is a very nice copy. $34,000 right now to get it on this, guys. As you can see at the bottom of the screen, if you go to I got to update the background there. You got to go to collectrea.com, you guys. Collectrea.com is the website. Register and bid so you can have a chance to win some of these cards. And by the way, we're only looking at a few, guys. There are thousands of cards up for auction in the catalog auction that does end on April the 27th. Okay, 1953 Topps Mickey Mantle PSA 8. We talked about the 53 set earlier. I think this card is as nice as the 52 Topps. It's obviously the second Topps card for Mantle, so it lags a bit behind because of that. But it's a great, similar to the way the American Caramel Honus Wagner is a nice alternative to the T206. This is a nice alternative to the 1952 Topps if you want a Topps card. What do you think of this card, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, I think we were kind of touching on it earlier, but I think visually, just the artwork in the 53s and particularly this up close pose of Mantle. I mean, I think it's right there, from a visual perspective with the 52. that bottom red box there, very prone to chipping. So really tough set to get in high grade. Beautiful example, well-centered, sharp corners. And I think it just appeals to so many different types of collectors. You got guys who are building, mantle sets, guys who are just love the 53 set and are putting 53s together, or guys who are just collecting iconic vintage cards.
Really well centered, really nice corners and edges, as you mentioned. Registration, like basically close to perfect. Bottom left corner, I see a touch of white. That might be the only thing. There you go, a little fisheye over there beside the Y, but what a beautiful copy that is. And again, a great alternative to the 52. It's a different card, I get it, but it is an alternative still. $37,000 right now on the 53 Topps Mickey Mantle in the PSA 8 holder. 1948 Leaf, Stan Musial in an SGC 8.5. This card's on my want list. Matt, I love the blue back. It's funny how we collectors, we do consider these vintage pieces art. I do, even modern pieces. I consider many of them art. The way we look to the color and we talk about it because we just love the way these things present. And this is a beautiful, beautiful card. The reds on the blue, the yellow bat, the centering is very nice. It's a little bit low, but a very nice card. Registration's very clean. Edges, corners look good. Bottom left corner might be the weakest of the four, if even that's the case. It's very nice. We're sitting at $22,000. What are your thoughts on this as the Leaf Musial rookie? I know he has a Bowman rookie as well. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, listen, 48 Bowman Stan Musial was a very important card. I think it's a great card, but I think they're apples to oranges. I don't think that anybody I think that the 48 Bowman pales in comparison visually to the 48 Leaf. I think you kind of took the words out of my mouth. The blue has always appealed to me. I think there's a lot of cards like that where the color contrast really makes them stand out, and this is one of the most prime examples. And I'm not typically a huge fan of artwork on 48 Leafs. I don't think that they did a tremendous job overall, but they really nailed it with the Musial. And I think that that's a card that, for a Hall of Fame rookie card collector, you get a clean, nice, deep blue like that. I don't think you can ask for a whole lot more.
It's a great looking copy. $22,000 right now. Turpin Forrester says that blue makes Stan pop. It really does. What a great looking copy. Eventually, Matt, I'm going to add one of these to my collection, but I'll be in a much lower grade, but I'm going to be looking for, I don't mind the slightly rounded corners, but I want the registration like this, super strong, and I want that bold blue and reds. I think it's just a gorgeous, gorgeous copy. All right, what's this here, Matt? Extremely rare 1970 Topps cloth stickers. Tom Seaver, PSA slabbed authentic, the only slabbed example. What is it we have here? When I was looking at this originally, I thought I'm going to ask Matt, what is this?
Yeah, this is a super cool card. So to be honest with you, I didn't know that this card existed prior to, a few months ago. And ultimately, it was consigned to us by just a diehard Mets fan, one of the few people I've met who actually had her stuff on display, and huge Seaver fan, and really was very proactive years ago in the 80s and 90s in trying to acquire some really rare Seaver pieces, and came across this, which is a Topps test issue, similar to the 72 cloth stickers that everyone knows, but the 1970 Topps cloth, very few of them out there. We've sold a couple commons for like 4,000 or 5,000. The Nolan Ryan version, which is, I believe, NL playoff game 3 or 5, sold for 10 grand a few years ago. So we have pretty high hopes for this. I mean, if you're a Mets fan or, a Tom Seaver, like registry collector, like this is the only one that's graded by PSA. And I think it might be the only example period that's out there. It's the only one that I've ever seen.
3,100. It'll be interesting, as you said, to see what this ends for. All right. 1975 Topps, one of my favorite designs because of these color combinations. Also because I find this is one of the easiest issues to visually assess centering without really needing like a ruler or a tool. You can just look at those you can look at these lines between the green and the purple and kind of compare them and say, yeah, this is centered or it's off centered, or how bad is the centering. This is a SGC 10 Gem Mint copy. Again, the George Brett rookie card, a classic card. You know, him and Yount from this set are a great pair if you wanted to pair it up with another card. I'm sure many people did that. I used to have the two. I don't own them anymore. That was years and years ago. Great looking copy here. No bid yet. The opening bid is $20,000. The auction just went live a couple days ago. Again, it ends on the 20. It ends on the. It is the 27th, as I've been saying. Is it not?
It is. Yeah. It ends in the wee hours of the morning, the 28th technically, but it advertises the 27th. So extended bidding starts at 9 p.m. on the 27th.
Now, how tough is it? Like, there's only 2 SGC 10s in the population, but you know, similar to the Ricky Henderson that we saw earlier, Matt. I mean, these cards are only 5 years apart. How tough is it to find a Gem Mint 75 tops George Brett?
I actually looked into that earlier today. So the from a percentage basis, it's almost identical. They have, between the two companies of PSA and SGC, they've graded about 20,000 examples, and there's a total of 13 PSA and SGC 10s. So again, you know, you're looking at whatever, less than 1/10 of 1%. Probably the most iconic, you know, mid to late 70s Hall of Fame rookie card. I mean, you obviously have some great stuff in the early 70s, but you know, Brett is 75 design is one of those things where either love it or you hate it. I have at least appreciated the fact that they tried to do something different, and I've always kind of found them attractive. And like you said, Brett and Yount are the cards to have, and the Brett, in addition to being, you know, the best rookie card in the set, is just always plagued with condition issues and super tough to get a 10 on. So kind of all comes together in a perfect storm for this one.
Brett Yount, and you can also get Gary Carter's rookie card in the set as well.
And Keith Hernandez. I'm a Mets fan, so
there you go. There you go. Yeah, amazing issue right there. Next up is lot number 2,314 in 1923. Christy Mathewson signed letter on letterhead to the Pennsylvania Tuberculosis Society, graded a 9. The autograph, I believe, is graded a 9. So let's have a look at this item. This is it right here. Look at that, beautifully framed. Look at the autograph. Very more bold than the text of the letter itself. Matt, what can you tell us about this piece?
I think this might be my favorite piece in the auction, actually. I love cards, but the memorabilia, because memorabilia is so different and it all kind of tells a story. And this, you know, both literally and figuratively does that, as it's a letter. But Mathewson famously, was in World War I and ended up contracting tuberculosis, and spent, much of the later part of his life in upstate New York, getting treatment. And, this is a letter that he typed on Saranac Lake letterhead, which is where he was receiving treatment for his disease, where he's writing to a tuberculosis society about an event that he's going to be unable to attend due to a prior engagement. And, written a couple of years before he passed in that very place. I think it's just one of the coolest pieces of history we have in the auction. A beautiful signature. Can't ask for much more. Mathewson is a first 5 Hall of Famer, and almost impossible to find anything of his signed. I think this is the first letter of his that we've ever sold at auction.
Well, Triple V here says, Matty autos are always a treat to see, especially when it's clean and bold. And how about when you can actually timestamp the signature to November 5th, 1923, the date the letter was written? I mean, come on. That to me takes it one step further as far as just how cool it really is. So awesome. 3,500 is the current bid. I think we're going to see more action on that over the next 13 days. All right, a Babe Ruth signed ball, dual signed with Lou Gehrig. You can see Gehrig's signature peeking out up there. No bids yet, 25,000 on the opening. What can you tell us about this particular Babe Ruth autographed baseball, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think that, obviously we know when Gehrig died, and so I think the significance of dating this ball is pretty obvious. You likely have like a late 20s, early 30s baseball there. You're talking about a ball that's 100 years old, and I mean, all things considered, in pretty much pristine condition. Beautiful signatures on it. Ruth balls, while you can find them, are incredibly desirable and very expensive, and Gehrig balls are just as desirable and more expensive because you can't find them. And the combination of the two, I think, just makes for an incredible opportunity.
All sorts of authentication, and again, it's great that I think it's great that you got the Gehrig signature on there as well. All right, let's get through the final few items we want to look at. We have a SGC 9 1957 Topps Johnny Unitas rookie card. This one has the NBA Silver Eye Appeal sticker on it as well, which really just tells us that this is very strong for the grade. And Mike Baker does a great job. He's got a great eye for these things. And this is a beautiful copy, great centering. The boldness of the orange and the green backgrounds is absolutely outstanding. The registration, I think it's bang on, Matt. I don't see anything wrong. I don't see anything wrong with this card, except maybe a minor centering. It might be a little bit high on the cardboard canvas, but what do you think of this piece yourself?
Yeah, I think it's one of the, I took this card in on consignment. I think it's one of the nicest, just objectively one of the nicer cards we have in the auction. I mean, it's, it feels like you just took it out of a pack. And like you said, I think it's centered just a touch to the top when you're looking at it horizontally there. But, as far as Unitases go, I mean, when you look at them, 57 Topps cards, regardless of the sport, they're all kind of plagued with this kind of dark photography and a lot of print issues. And, it's just a great card and really clean example.
Beautiful card. Absolutely. All right. And what happened here? Let's close this. Here we go. 1965 Topps Joe Namath rookie card, the tall boy in a PSA 8 holder. Another, this is an iconic card. This might be the most iconic vintage football card, like more so than the Nagurski, maybe more so than the Jim Brown. I believe certainly more so than, say, the Joe Montana or any of the rookies from the 80s. What do you think? Am I right? Am I wrong? It has the NBA silver sticker on it. And the other thing with these tall boys is centering is, to me, easier to assess visually because you've got such a long border. Any tilt, you're going to notice along that long plane. This copy looks unbelievable. It does not have that printing error that puts like the butterfly on his hand, which is not a copy that I would like to have. I like this version much better. This looks like a very strong 8 to me. NBA, Mike Baker authenticated, put the silver sticker on there. They agree with me on that. Matt, what do you think of this card?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think that as far as Namaths go, it's about as beautiful of a card as you're going to find. I mean, like you kind of mentioned, you always kind of get a tilt. It's rare that, or not rare, but you can find them relatively well centered at certain points in the card, but usually on one corner somewhere, the centering gets a little bit tight. And you don't really have that here. And to your point about the tall boys, there's just so much surface area. There's so much more that can go wrong in terms of condition flaws. It's just a great image of Namath, obviously, the king of New York and huge market for Jets fans. One of the most iconic football cards. I love the fact that it's a tall boy. It kind of makes it stand out. Obviously, a more popular player than Nagurski. I think the Nagurski still kind of holds the crown as the most important football card, but this could certainly be a close number 2.
17,000 is the current bid for this really nice PSA 8 Joe Namath 1965 Topps rookie card. And not to be outdone, we've got another beauty right here, and this is a special card, the 1961 Fleer Wilt Chamberlain in an SGC 9 mint holder. Another card that demanded the silver NBA Eye Appeal designation or assessment, and it doesn't fall. The card does not fall short. I'm looking at this card, Matt, and it looks to be absolutely mint plus to me, whatever that is, on its way to gem mint. I don't want to say gem mint because it was assessed to be not gem mint, but this thing is an absolute stunner from a centering, edges, and corners perspective. This thing's an absolute blazer of a card. What do you think of it, Matt?
I think it's like I said earlier, I like kind of similar to the Bobby Orr or the Nagurski or the Namath. I like the other sport cards. They kind of pique my interest a bit more than baseball, just because you see them so much more infrequently. And the Chamberlain, I think, is one of the coolest basketball cards that exists, and one of the greatest players. I think the card is virtually pack fresh. I get it. It's an SGC 9. You don't want to go out on a limb and start calling stuff gem mint, but I would really ask anyone to find something that they find wrong with that card. I don't see how you can ask for anything more out of a Chamberlain rookie or any card, frankly. I mean, beautifully centered, great color, great registration, razor sharp corners. I mean, the card's dead centered in my opinion. That's usually the thing that you see on nines. It's like, oh, well, it's a touch off center here or there. But I mean, looking at that card, both in hand and on the scans, I think it's pretty virtually flawless.
It's almost impossible to find this card this well centered. I don't know if I've ever seen one this well centered. The only things that I can see, if I'm going to be picky, a couple of like missing pixels almost, a couple of little white spots on the surface, but that's it. Everything else about this thing is absolutely stunning. All right, 1956 Melbourne Olympics gold medal presented to Casey Jones from the Casey Jones estate. Do you guys deal a lot in Olympic medals, Matt? Is this how special is this piece for REA?
Yeah, I don't know that anyone deals a lot in Olympic medals, but we've had a couple.
Fair comment. Thank you.
We've had a couple, but they're always special when you see them. We've been very fortunate to have dealt with the Jones family on a number of Casey's pieces. He was obviously just a phenomenal player in his own right, and a huge member of the Celtics and the 56 Olympic team, where they won the gold, beat the Soviet Union alongside Bill Russell. So I think that for just checks the boxes of so many different types of collectors. It's part of American history. It's Olympic medal. I think Olympic medals are always special. Also for a basketball collector, this is kind of the pinnacle of 1950s basketball.
Yeah. What I love is just the way that it's struck and the design on this thing. Like it's a beautiful piece of metal. I don't know how Olympic medals are made, but I assume there is actual gold, or if it's not gold all the way through, I don't know. And the reverse is equally as beautiful. The design and just the way it was struck, it's an unbelievable piece of history. No bids yet. Minimum bid $25,000. I have to think we'll see some action on this in the next 13 days. Really neat piece from the 1956 Melbourne, Australia Olympics. Okay, Matt, the last item we're going to look at is lot number 15, 1888 partial set of the N338-2 SF Hess, including Keith Warden Welch. I admit I don't know anything really about this set or these cards, Matt, so I'm going to turn it over to you. What can you teach us about this set of cards?
Well, you're not alone. I mean, very few people know much about it because they're so rare. One of the most premier 19th century sets. I think that there is 25 known examples to exist. This is the largest offering that I think has ever been put together, let alone come to auction. I think in the past 25 years of our history, we've only offered like 9 or 10 individually. And here we have a near complete set. And the interesting thing about the set is that as time goes on, periodically you'll see where a new copy will be discovered. I believe the Welch was either discovered or offered for the first time in the last 5 years or so, and loaded with Hall of Famers, and just a great 19th century set. This kind of falls into that category of, while it certainly does appeal to a very specific 19th century collector, this is the type of thing where you'd be very hard pressed to find another one. This is kind of a situation where you either pull the trigger on it now, or you might not ever get the opportunity.
Right. Yeah. I don't know that I've seen these before, and they're very, very interesting. And it comes back to what are we doing as collectors, really? We are the custodians of the history, and the history is very fragile. The paper, the cardboard, it's thankfully we protect these things now, but for many decades we didn't. That's why it's so hard to find some of these old copies, these old issues. They were just not valued like they were today, or there was never the thought that they would become valuable. And that's why they are that's part of the reason why they are so valuable today. And the other thing I want to just mention is that you know, it doesn't matter how long you've been in this hobby. I myself, 45 years collecting cards, and we still discover things. We're still discovering new cards. Not just when I say we, I mean we, the hobby. There are still discoveries being made, whether it's international type cards, soccer, non-sport, baseball, even. It's unbelievable. This truly is the hobby that keeps on giving. But this set, lot number 15, is currently showing a bid of $60,000, and this whole auction ends in 13 days. And if we go to the auction itself, 3,655 lots, you guys, you can come, you can search this auction any way you'd like. You can go into the filters, run a filter, go by Spart, go by era. There's different ways to do it. And you can scroll through and, you know, bid on any. Again, we only looked at 25 of the lots out of over 3,000, you guys. So come on to the website, collectrea.com, and you will be able to view and bid on any or all of these options, all of these items. If you're just flush and looking to take on a whole bunch of stuff for your collection, you have that opportunity. Matt, anything you'd like to mention before we sign off and end this? And I just want to say before you do, thank you for joining. This was a lot of fun. It's great to be able to introduce you to the audience we have here, Matt. So what else would you like to mention before we wrap up?
No, nothing much. I really appreciate the opportunity. It was great to be on, and I really enjoyed it. And yeah, I mean, if anyone has any questions about anything that you guys have seen on here today or anything else in the auction, feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to look at cards for anyone who asks, happy to talk to people, give our opinions and advice on things. And, you know, we're really just trying to bring people into the auction, bring people into the hobby. So I really appreciate you having me on.
You bet. And I just want to also mention, if you haven't done this, go to the collectrea.com website and request the catalog. They put out beautiful catalogs. And again, how is it 3 catalog auctions per year where you actually publish these big, beautiful tabletop coffee table type books?
Yeah, 3 times a year, spring, summer, and fall. We put out a catalog. They're usually somewhere in the neighborhood of 600 pages. So they're definitely good coffee table pieces, good conversation pieces.
They really are. All right, Matt, thank you again, everybody. Be sure to check out collectrea.com, view and register to bid on the website. And I just want to say thank you, everybody, for joining us, whether you joined us on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, well, Twitter, X. Appreciate you all being here, guys. And with that, thank you, Robert Scott. Thank you, Newfie Sig. I see you guys in the chat. But with that, guys, this episode, this version of the REA catalog auction live stream is now